this primitive river-bottom wilderness in southern Arkansas, along with deer, duck, crane, and beaver, lurks a creature that walks upright. Whether it is a man, a monster, or a myth, no one really knows. What we do know is the people around Fouke, Arkansas say they have seen such a creature nearly 250 times since 1954. And that this creature, whatever it is, emits one of the most terrifying sounds ever recorded.
Hi, this is Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. This is a special no one under 21 admitted episode because we are drinking alcoholic beverages. So if you're under 21, you can't watch this episode. This is O'Fallon pumpkin beer, and I just saw this in the store today. And for me, when I see this stuff in the store, that means it's Halloween. This is the official start of the Halloween season. Whenever I see O'Fallon pumpkin beer in the store, it means it's Halloween time. Summer's over. It's time for Halloween. It's really pretty mild stuff, so I'm not going to be like, whoa. Don't worry about that. This is not the start of the second season. This is still one of our special interim episodes. And today I'm going to talk about something I did over the summer. As you know, if you saw the cryptozoology two-part episode, I'm a big fan of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, and cryptids like the Loch Ness Monster, the Chupacabra, and thunderbirds, and creatures like that. So, and especially, I'm a big fan of 1970s Bigfoot exploitation films, like The Legend of Boggy Creek, and The Mysterious Monsters, and Creature from Black Lake, and Curse of Bigfoot, which was really a 50s film, where they shot new footage and then released it to television in the 70s, making it a 70s film. And there were all kinds of great Bigfoot movies in the 70s and early 80s. Curse of the Demon, which is not to be confused with the Dana Andrews film. There was a Bigfoot film called Curse of the Demon, which is really violent and has a lot of hard R-rated content, but it's a great exploitation horror movie. And I love, like from the late 60s to mid 80s, that grindhouse drive-in exploitation period where they made all these transgressive horror movies that, I mean, there wasn't anything before or since quite like those films. And Bigfoot, or some people call it Sasquatch ploitation. I think that's what they call it. I don't call it that. I just say Bigfoot horror movies or Bigfoot exploitation films. Those are a big part of that era, and especially the 70s. That was really the Bigfoot era. And the movie that really started it off and created a fad around Bigfoot was The Legend of Boggy Creek, directed by Charles B. Pierce in 1972. Charles Pierce was a great independent auteur who made a lot of wonderful low-budget horror movies and action movies and adventure movies in the 1970s into the early 80s. Besides his most famous film, Boggy Creek, he also directed The Town That Dreaded Sundown, about a masked killer in the Texarkana area. And that film was an inspiration for later slasher films like Halloween. An official restored Blu-ray of The Legend of Boggy Creek is on its way. And that's big news for horror movie fans, because until now, it's only been available, even on DVD, it was only available in just horrible condition, because all of these DVDs were scanned from beat up theatrical prints. So the film print that had gone through the theaters and drive-ins and everything, and it had been all torn up and faded, those are the prints they used to make these DVDs. And then when we got any permission or any rights or anything like that, they had the print, so they scanned it and made a DVD. So the film, in effect, fell into public domain. Now, it's not like Night of the Living Dead or some other movies where legally it was in the public domain because they didn't put a copyright on it or whatever. It wasn't like that. It just, in effect, became public domain, was treated as public domain because no one was coming after anybody to sue them. Video distributors said, hey, I guess it's open season. Anyone can put out this movie if you've got a print of it. Halloween in a bottle. So, I had never seen the movie as it was meant to be seen at the theater. I'd only seen these horrible prints, like most people. And it had been a dream of mine for many years to see this movie properly restored and remastered in a good edition of this film released on home video. And I didn't think I'd ever see it because I thought the negative is probably lost and the rights are probably a big mess and it's never going to happen. And I spent years on message boards. Anytime anyone would talk about it, I would always post, when is this thing going to get proper remastering? When is someone going to find the negative? Someone's got to do something about this. And I mention that because it'll come up again in a minute. Well, finally, just in the past couple of years, the daughter of the director, Charles B. Pierce, her name is Pamela Pierce Barcelo. She inherited the rights to her father's films. I mean, it's more complicated than that. I mean, it's a long, complicated story. But she had the rights to his films. And she obtained the copyright to The Legend of Boggy Creek and some other titles, but important here, The Legend of Boggy Creek. Again, it's a much more complicated story than that. I'm simplifying it. The bottom line is she had the rights to The Legend of Boggy Creek, and she was determined to do something about it because she wanted to honor her father's legacy, and she had a sense of mission to rescue this film and get this film restored and get it back out there. In several interviews, Pamela has said that one of the reasons she took on this project was because she had spent years reading message boards where people were talking about Boggy Creek, and there was always someone saying, when is this going to be restored? When is someone going to find the negative? When is this going to be remastered and made available properly? And that was one of the reasons that she felt compelled to do this. So some of the language she uses in these interviews sounds verbatim with the things I wrote on the message boards. So I'm sure at least some of those posts that she read were things that I had written, threads that I had started. I'm sure that, maybe not all of it, but I'm sure that some of the statements she read online that helped inspire her to do this were things that I had posted. I believe that. I'm quite sure of that. So that just goes to show you the squeaky wheel gets greasing. If you want something to happen, you gotta vocalize it. Even if it seems nobody is listening or paying attention, all it takes is one person to pay attention if it's the right person. But she had no elements. She didn't know where the negative was. She didn't have any good prints. She had nothing except the legal right. So she spent a couple of years searching for good elements for the Legend of Boggy Creek, and it was quite an adventure, a lot of twists and turns, and finally she got a pristine print from the British Film Institute, the BFI. Like maybe you've read online about the BFI's top 100 British films, something like that. And you say, who's the BFI? Well, they're like the UK equivalent of the US Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. They're like, across the pond, the equivalent of that, the BFI. And they had an archival quality print of the Legend of Boggy Creek. Then she located the negative, the original negative for Boggy Creek. So all these pieces just started falling in place. And finally, she had the film restored by the Eastman and Kodak Museum, which is very prestigious, and they've restored a lot of classic movies, like Lawrence of Arabia and stuff like that. So it's if you're going to have a movie restored, that's the place to do it. So that was a big deal, having Eastman Kodak restore The Legend of Boggy Creek. Hundreds of hours of work have gone into restoring this thing. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's not Joe Schmo restoring this thing or some enthusiastic fan. It's top-level, professional, legit, and very prestigious. The top people are working on this. And the audio, particularly, was restored by the same people who restored Night of the Living Dead. So if you saw that restoration, the audio is restored by the same people. Okay, so Legend of Boggy Creek, the restored 4K widescreen version, is playing art houses like the Alamo Draft House, locations like that. It's going city to city, playing special one night or one weekend engagements, limited engagements. So look for it in your town. It might come to a theater near you. So this is all good for fans of the movie. But why am I sitting here on Basement of Horror talking about all that? Well, because the restoration had a special premiere on June 14th of this year, 2019, in Texarkana, which is right by Fouke, which is where the movie takes place. The Legend of Boggy Creek takes place in and around the city of Fouke, Arkansas, which is in the metropolitan area of Texarkana. And a lot of Pierce's work, his films, take place in and around Texarkana. He kept coming back to that location. So being a big fan of the movie, I felt like I needed to go to this premiere to see the grand unveiling of The Legend of Boggy Creek, the 4K remastered restoration. And it was a chance to kill a few birds with one stone. Let's say it had been in Los Angeles instead of Texarkana. Would I have gone to it then? Would I have flown to Los Angeles for this premiere? Probably not. And this is why. Because being a fan of the Fouke monster, which is what the Legend of Boggy Creek is based on, and a fan of the movie, I'd long wanted to visit Fouke, Arkansas, to visit the home of the legendary Fouke monster. And particularly, I wanted to visit a tourist landmark called the Monster Mart, which is a convenience store. It's on the highway in the middle of Fouke, and it's become just kind of a bucket list location for Bigfoot enthusiasts and horror fans, monster fans. If you're into monsters and horror, or if you're into Bigfoot, the Monster Mart is a place you want to visit, once in your life. It's not like it's a big, awe-inspiring, glorious thing. It's just the opposite. It's a kind of cheesy little thing, but that's what makes it cool. And I've seen pictures online. I've seen like news segments, video segments about the Monster Mart over the years. Oh, documentaries have done segments on the Monster Mart, so I was very familiar with the Monster Mart. And I long wanted to go there. I thought, one of these days, I'm going to go to the Monster Mart. And one of these days, I'm going to see the actual Boggy Creek, where the Legend of the Monster started, and see the world of that movie that I like so much. And because the Legend of Boggy Creek, the film, premiered in Texarkana, in the area where it was shot, it's also where it had its premiere in 1972, that's where the premiere of the new restored edition took place, in the same theater, the Perot Theatre in Texarkana, the same theater where the movie premiered in 1972. So, and then there was a Fouke Monster Festival the same weekend as the premiere. So the city of Fouke made a big thing out of this. They do the festival every year, but this year they really blew it up into a much bigger deal and took advantage of the fact that they're having the premiere and people were coming for that. A lot of things came together, so they said, this year let's make a big citywide event out of this. So you had the premiere, you had the Fouke Monster Festival, and you had tours to the movie sites. I don't know if they do that every year, but they did it this year. And so it's a much bigger thing. So if you were into the Legend of Boggy Creek, if you were into the Fouke Monster legend, and Bigfoot, and that whole world of that hazy, dreamy, nightmare world of early 70s exploitation horror, you had to be at this event. At least I thought I had to be at this event. So I went. I went to Fouke and Texarkana and saw the premiere and visited the Monster Mart, went on a tour of the film sites where they shot the movie, the whole shebang. And now, finally, 2 hours into this video, are you still with us? I hope so. I'd offer you some of this beer, but it won't go through the screen, unfortunately. We don't have that level of virtual reality yet. Eventually we will. Finally, now I've gotten to the point of this whole thing. So I've told you about Pamela. Another person who's important to this is Lyle Blackburn. Lyle Blackburn. And he's a well-known author and folklorist and cryptozoologist. He wrote this book, among many. Let me get the beer out of the way here. This book here. This is really the definitive book about the Boggy Creek monster. It's The Beast of Boggy Creek, The True Story of the Fouke Monster by Lyle Blackburn. And if you want to know about the Fouke Monster, this is the book. And he's written all kinds. He wrote a book about Momo, my favorite cryptid, Momo, the Missouri Monster. That was his latest book. And he's written books about all kinds of other Bigfoot and lizard people and all kinds of other cryptids. So he's a pretty good author. And I'd gotten to know him a little bit online through Facebook, but I'd never met him. But he was going to be at this event. Not only was he going to be at the event, he's one of the organizers of the Fouke Monster Festival. So he was one of the people who really was responsible for putting this thing together. Not the film premiere, though he was involved with that too, but the festival part of it. He was one of the main people involved with making that thing happen. Not the only person, but one of the main people. So he's important to the story, and he'll come back again. So the protagonists are Pamela, Pierce, Barcelo, and Lyle Blackburn. And there are some other important people that I'll mention along the way. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my little adventure in Fouke, Arkansas. And then I'll show you, I didn't get a lot of tchotchkes, but I got a few things like this shirt. So, after we're done, I'll show you a couple little things. So, I feel like Joe Bob Briggs chugging on beer. I'm about to say, roll the film, and then start talking. He says, roll the film, then he keeps talking. Well, we're going to roll the film in a second. This is video that I shot of my trip, and I will narrate the video. And my head will pop up a few times here and there, but mostly for the next 9 hours, 20 minutes, you'll be watching video from my trip and hearing my voiceover. So if that doesn't sound like a good time, you can bail out now. Here's your chance. On the other hand, if you want to take that little trip with me, here we go. We're starting our journey to Boggy Creek. Because the Monster Mart was such a big deal to me, I didn't want to waste any time. So my first night, as soon as I checked into the hotel, one of the first things I did was drive to Fouke to see the Monster Mart. I drove down the highway from Texarkana to Fouke. A storm was brewing, clouds were getting darker, there was some light rain on the windshield. As I drove along, I loved seeing the trees on the side of the highway, wondering if the monster was lurking just inside the tree line. Wherever there are trees, there must be a Bigfoot. That's what I learned in childhood. It was exciting seeing the highway signs leading to Fouke, because when I saw the name Fouke on the signs, I knew this is real. I'm almost there. Especially the Welcome to Fouke monument sign. When I saw that, I knew now I had arrived. I was in Fouke, Arkansas. Surely I would see the monster at any moment. Fouke is a right neighborly place until the sun goes down. The 2010 census records Fouke's total population at just 859 people. Fouke is a very small town, and it still looks like a small town. Things don't seem to have changed very much since the early 1970s. I think the townspeople like it that way. I don't blame them. I'd hate to see it paved over and turned into big box stores and McMansions. Finally, I found the Monster Mart. Thanks to media coverage, the Fouke Monster Mart has become a legendary roadside attraction. The store changed hands just a few years ago. Previously, it just had a painted mural outside and a few display cases, and that was about it. But the new owner decided to expand it into this full-blown tourist attraction. They installed the giant Bigfoot on the roof and renovated the facade, making the store look like a carnival funhouse or a dark ride. The front of the store makes a perfect backdrop for media interviews, and sure enough, one was going on while I was there. A favorite photo op is this life-size Bigfoot statue. It looks like a giant action figure. You can't visit the Monster Mart without posing in front of this Fouke monster, so of course that is what I did. On the other end of the building is this much older and spookier mural of the Fouke monster. This is more how I imagine the creature. And of course I took a selfie with this one as well. I really like how creepy this mural looks. It reminds me of Momo the monster. The store has been around for decades. I don't know exactly when it opened, but it was around in the 1970s during the heyday of the Charles Pierce film. The original sign that hung outside the store in the 1970s was in storage throughout the festival weekend, but they brought it out Sunday after most of the out-of-towners had gone home. I heard them say that they intended to display it during the festival, but for some reason that didn't work out. The sign is faded and appears to be very fragile, so perhaps they were concerned about it getting damaged. The Monster Mart is the only convenience store in Fouke, and make no mistake, it is a convenience store, first and foremost. Inside, the left half of the store looks just like a Quick Trip or a 7-Eleven. But as you move toward the center of the store, things start getting squatchy. The right half of the store is a Fouke Monster gift shop with all kinds of souvenirs and memorabilia. A lot of it is local and handmade, like souvenir sculptures, but they also sell manufactured items like these Bigfoot action figures. Of course, they have all kinds of Legend of Boggy Creek t-shirts and Monster Mart t-shirts. And they have locally made art prints, lots of local artwork. Some of the souvenirs are themed more toward Lyle Blackburn's books than the Fouke Monster itself. Some of it is more inspired by the Roger Patterson Bigfoot. And of course they have mugs, lots of mugs. I don't know what these metal things are. Obviously they are shaped like Bigfoot. I like these wooden souvenir monsters. I actually bought one of these. They're really cute. I love how so much of this Fouke Monster merchandise resembles Momo the Missouri Monster, with the two glowing eyes and the round head and no neck. I love the swamp water. I would have bought one of these if I had not been flying. It would have complemented my 1970s Loch Ness Monster water. But can you imagine trying to take one of these on a plane? Trying to explain it to the TSA? These hunched over statues were everywhere. They had small sizes, medium sizes, big sizes. This bigger one had hair and was very expensive. They all appear to be sculpted by the same person. They have a similar pose and expression. This life-size statue was added a few weeks after my trip, so I didn't get to see it in person. But the store owners gave me permission to use this photo. It looks like it was created by the same artist who made the small ones, but I don't know that for sure. It just looks that way based on the expression and the posture. They had this one holding up a guest book for visitors to sign. Of course I signed it. I saw signatures from all over the country. Beyond this gift shop area, there is a door that leads to a little Boggy Creek museum. I'd seen this room on television shows many times, and I was excited to see it in person. There are a lot of cases full of news clippings, artifacts, more artwork on the walls, more sculptures and books. Then there is this wall mural that looks like Harry and the Hendersons. The sign in front of it reminds me of the signpost in MASH. If you ever watched MASH, you know what I'm talking about. Of course, we have the iconic movie posters for the Boggy Creek film trilogy. These are original posters. Lots of other posters and photos and clippings on the walls. Then there is this wonderful case full of Bigfoot footprint castings. I actually own copies of some of these. They have some of the Boggy Creek casts here, as well as footprints from all over the country. And this is another great Fouke Monster sculpture. Here's a case full of memorabilia, including this 45 RPM record of a novelty song called Fouke Monster, released in 1971. That's a collectible I need to own one of these days. These are artifacts found in the various locations used in the Boggy Creek movie. And more artwork. And this is a giant monster bust, similar to the small ones in the shop. More news clippings. These are more recent articles from the 2000s about the resurgence of interest in the creature. The museum room still could use a little more content, but if you're a fan of Boggy Creek and Bigfoot, browsing through this room is a lot of fun. I couldn't leave the Monster Mart without trying some of its celebrated pizza. Ordinarily, I never touch convenience store food, but this is different. The Monster Mart makes this pizza fresh before your eyes, and it really is pizza parlor style pizza. It's not truck stop food. And I have to say, it was pretty darn good. Outside is a wooden carnival cutout standee of the Fouke Monster. I didn't see it at first because it's not right next to the building. It's a little bit across the lot in an adjacent field. You have to climb up a ladder to stick your face in it, which I did. Some helpful tourists photographed me. Down the road from the Monster Mart, the highway passes over the legendary Boggy Creek. It's much too far to walk, but by car it's only a few minutes. So I drove south down Highway 71, keeping my eyes peeled for the famous road marker that I'd seen in so many photos and TV shows. Finally, there it was, Boggy Creek. I pulled over, which you are really not supposed to do, and spent just a moment contemplating everything this muddy little trickle of water had come to represent. To cinema, horror, folklore, pop culture, cryptozoology, and the history of this little town. And I thought of the creature itself, wondering whether it was really out there, following the creek. After the Monster Mart, I went to downtown Texarkana to see the premiere of the restored Legend of Boggy Creek at the historic Perot Theatre, which opened in 1924. The theater hasn't shown a movie in years. It's used for stage productions, but a screen and projection system were installed just for this premiere. Why not use a theater that was already set up for movies? Because the Perot is where the Legend of Boggy Creek premiered in 1972. I didn't shoot any video inside the theater because we were asked not to. You can find professional video of the event on YouTube if you want to taste what it was like inside the theater. So, though I didn't shoot any footage of the restoration on the screen, I do have permission to show you a little bit now. So this is some clips of the restored footage. Keep in mind a few things. First of all, this is not a file that I got directly from Pamela and the copyright holders. This is a file that I had to rip from a YouTube video that was already uploaded. I had permission to do that, but there's probably a generational loss. So it's not like they mailed me a thumb drive with their high-res footage on it. It's not like that. So keep that in mind, but I think it'll still look good. Okay, so I'll set the stage. Here is some restored footage from the Legend of Boggy Creek.
did he go? Well, we believe he simply headed back deeper and deeper into the bottoms, beyond the reach of men. Only the alligator and wolf, crane and possum, and 1,000 other wild creatures heard his occasional lonely cries ringing out over his watery domain.
This is where the story plays, a world on which we seldom gaze, a page from the book of yesterdays, birds and beasts and wind and water.
So that gives you a little taste of what it looks like. If you want to see more, there is an official Boggy Creek movie channel on YouTube, and if I have the presence of mind, hopefully I will include a link in the description. If I don't, tell me in the comments, say, hey dummy, where's that link, and I'll add it. So, after we saw the restoration, which was, I mean, the restoration itself was quite an experience, sitting there watching it. I mean, that was something I'd wanted to see for so many years, and finally there I am in this beautiful historic theater where the movie, the history of the film really began within those walls. Very historic, with, you know, Lyle there introducing it, who's like, Lyle's become like one of the big names really in Bigfoot and cryptozoology, and he's all over TV. If you've seen any specials about Bigfoot on TV, you've seen Lyle. And Pamela's there, and it's the optimum way to see this movie. I don't know how there could be a better way to experience this movie. So for a fan of this movie, if you're a fan of The Legend of Boggy Creek and you were not sitting in that theater that night, you missed out. Sorry, but hopefully you'll get to see it one of these revival screenings going around the country. After the screening, Pamela Pierce Barcelo took the stage to receive official proclamations from Fouke and Texarkana. This is Les Minor, sorry if I'm butchering that name, Editor-in-Chief of the Texarkana Gazette, and Terry Purvis, Mayor of Fouke, Arkansas, presenting Pamela with a proclamation from the city of Fouke honoring her father, Charles B. Pierce. And this is Bob Brugman, Mayor of Texarkana, Texas, and Alan Brown, Mayor of Texarkana, Arkansas, presenting Pamela with proclamations from the Twin Cities, acknowledging the impact her father had on the region. After the proclamations, Lyle Blackburn led a panel discussion with people involved with the making of Boggy Creek. There was Pamela and several actors from the film talking about their experiences on the set and how the film had affected their lives. My favorite part of the discussion was hearing the children of composer Jaime Mendoza-Nava, who created the music for Boggy Creek and several other Charles Pierce movies, such as The Town That Dreaded Sundown and The Evictors. Nava started with Disney, but went on to compose music for a number of cult movies, including Orgy of the Dead, Brotherhood of Satan, Grave of the Vampire, Creature from Black Lake, Mausoleum, and many others. He composed music for CBS's coverage of NASA's Apollo 11 mission. So if you saw the Apollo 11 mission live on television, or if you see any archival footage of CBS's coverage of that event, and you hear music playing, that's Jaime Mendoza-Nava. The music for Boggy Creek is one of the film's best elements. Jaime Mendoza-Nava is an artist whose work really needs to be rediscovered. Given his filmography and all the cult films he's scored, it's really strange to me that he's not already better known. After the screening, Lyle and Pamela and all the cast members spent a long time talking to fans and signing autographs. They had tables set up upstairs and downstairs. There were so many, cast members there. I was really impressed that Lyle and Pamela were able to round up so many people involved with this film. You would think there would be like no one left involved with the movie. There was a lot of people who were on camera in the movie, descendants of people who had passed away, people who were involved behind the scenes. It was an impressive selection of people. I hope they got interviews with all those people for special features on the Blu-ray. So I wasn't expecting that. I thought, you know, maybe they'd have 3 or 4 people who had some connection to the film, maybe, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that many people who could tell you all about their experiences on the set and then talk about what the movie meant to them in the years afterward. Some of them, it was very positive, some others not so much, and they all had different experiences. Some of the cast members didn't say a whole lot, others said quite a bit. There were some very charismatic characters among the cast. So that was very impressive. And then I waited in line. I didn't get any autographs because I don't collect autographs. I don't do autographs. It's not my thing. So, but I did want to talk to some people. So I talked to Pamela, and I told her how much I appreciated everything she had done, and it meant a lot to me, and I thanked her. And then I did talk to Lyle, and I was in line, and Lyle noticed me in the line before I got to the table, and I was surprised. I didn't know if he'd even recognize me, but he did. He said, he was like surprised, like, "It's Raymond, wow!" And that made me feel good that he knew who I was and he recognized me. So we talked for a bit, and he's a cool guy. Very charismatic, just very, how can I put this? He's very smooth and professional. I mean, you can see why he's on TV. He's a musician, he's a singer, he's an artist. He is at home in front of a camera and in front of an audience. You know, that's his home base. He's not, he's definitely a entertainer and a performer. He's good at it. He's very good at it. In addition to being a writer and a researcher, he's also an excellent performer and on-air personality, and in person, he's a great host. And so he's very personable, very charismatic, and he definitely makes you feel like you're important. When you're not going to get blown off by him. He's someone who's going to spend time with you and make you feel like he's as glad to meet you as you are to meet him. So that was nice. And I did meet some people who had traveled quite a bit from other states to be there. And the next day, which I'll get to, at the festival, there were people who had come from all over the country to go to the festival. So it was a nice communal experience, all the fans getting together to celebrate this film that we all cared about. The next day, Saturday, June 15, was Charles B. Pierce Day in Fouke. I went to the Fouke Monster Festival that was held in the Fouke Community Center. About 200 people attended. The place has a capacity of 200 people. They had a ticket limit of 200 people, and they sold out. So it looked like every bit of that 200 capacity was taken. There were quite a few people there. Outside, of course, there were vendors, mostly local artists selling handmade stuff. I was walking around in a Panama, which I've had many years, a Panama hat, and some Ray-Ban glasses. And there was a child, I don't know how old he was, seemed younger than 10, like 7 or 8 years old, who kept asking me to dance like Michael Jackson. So this is the outdoor part where all the vendors were. I was walking around trying to look at their wares, and this kid kept following me around saying, "Dance like Michael Jackson." Like, why? I'm not Michael Jackson, he's dead. Who do you think I am? And he's just like, "Well, I know you're not from around here." He didn't use those words, but he knew just from the way I was dressed that it seemed to him, I think, like I was some kind of movie star or entertainment person or something, just because of the way I was dressed. And he said that the hat I was wearing was like Michael Jackson's hat in Smooth Criminal, the video Smooth Criminal. And I said, no, actually, I think he's got some kind of fedora in that video. This is a Panama. Yeah, it's technically, I think it's classified as a fedora, but it's not really a Panama. It's not exactly a fedora. Panama is its own thing. Whatever. Anyway, it's not the hat that Michael Jackson wore in the Smooth Criminal video, that's for sure. He didn't wear a Panama. So, did he think I looked black? I mean, I'm half Egyptian, I'm half African, but I don't think I look like Michael Jackson. So I don't know what was going through his head, but he was cute, and he was relentless. And I said, why don't you dance for me? Dance like Michael Jackson in Smooth Criminal. Show me how it's done. And he wouldn't do it. If he had done something, I might have tried to imitate him, I guess. I can't dance. I sure as heck can't dance like Michael Jackson, but I might have played along if he had done something, but he didn't do anything. He was too shy. And his mother came along saying, is he bothering you? And his mother tried to separate him and control him, but he would break away and he kept falling around like, dance like Michael Jackson. Dance like Michael Jackson. Did he think I was Michael Jackson? I don't know. He was obsessed with this. He was determined to get me to dance like Michael Jackson. He just like, do some moves, do moonwalk. And I said, oh, I don't know how to moonwalk. Just do moonwalk. And then finally, I'd never moonwalked in my life, but I tried to do a little moonwalk, and I did a little, thing, and he was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. He loved it. So, that was outside the Fouke Community Center with all the tents that were set up. Then, around the building, down the parking, there was a gravel parking area, there's another little building, and that is the Miller County Historical Society Museum. And I shot some video in there. The Miller County Historical Society Museum, I think it's only open on Saturdays, and the festival was on a Saturday, obviously. And it was interesting. It had a lot of artifacts that related to the history of the county, Fouke and Texarkana. There was one little area that was devoted to the Legend of Boggy Creek and the Fouke Monster. And of course, most people, because they were there for the Fouke Monster legend, most of the visitors crowded around that little area. Apparently, the museum is trying to get non-profit status. So they're not non-profit at this time, but they want non-profit status. So they want everyone to sign the guest book because they wanted to show, when they applied for this non-profit status, they wanted to show that they had people from all over the country come into this museum. I guess that would bolster their chances of getting the non-profit status. So I signed their guest book. And then it was on to the main community center building. Inside there were more vendors, but these were more directly related to the Fouke Monster and the Legend of Boggy Creek. Some of the actors from the movie were there sitting at tables signing autographs. There were various Bigfoot-related vendors with all kinds of Bigfoot stuff. Lyle had a table where he was selling books and autographed posters. There were other people I didn't recognize, but they had handmade Bigfoot items and souvenirs. The Fouke Monster himself showed up, a guy in a gorilla costume, and that generated some interest for a few minutes. There were several guest speakers, including Lyle and Pamela, also Ken Gerhard and Jerry Heston, who are both well known in the Bigfoot community. This is Ken Gerhard talking to the audience about Bigfoot. And this is Lyle giving the audience his Beast of Boggy Creek presentation.
Many of us at this point, we've transcended this benefiting any one person or anything like that. It's a legend that transcends everything. When you type Fouke into Google, you're going to get the Fouke Monster. You can never separate it. This is a legend that's taken a foothold here in the 70s and never let go. You can't plan for those things. You can't come up with these things. It's something that is just simply going to happen.
All throughout the day, they had guided tours of the locations used in the Charles Pierce film. Lyle and Jerry Heston were the ones giving the tours. They would have vans coming every hour, and you had to sign up, and people load up into the vans, and they'd be gone for an hour or two, and then they'd come back. And those tours filled up like that. I mean, they were sold out for the day before I even got there. So I put my name on a waiting list, and I actually left and went back to the hotel for a couple hours, and then came back. They told me that at I think it was like 5 o'clock, there'd be a special tour for all the people who couldn't get in earlier. So I came back, and luckily I was able to get in on one of these tours, thank goodness, with Lyle up at the front of the van telling us where we were going, what we were seeing. So we loaded up into the van, and we were on our way into the world of the Fouke Monster. As I watched the trees going by outside the van, I really felt like I was in the movie, because some of this terrain was very identifiable as the Boggy Creek wilderness. It sounds silly, but trees do not all look alike. Wilderness in one area doesn't necessarily look like the wilderness in another area. And the wilderness of Boggy Creek looks very distinctive. If you've seen the Legend of Boggy Creek, you know those woods have a certain look to them. And the woods I saw outside the window of that van were the woods in the movie. I kept peering through the trees, as I think everyone in the van did, hoping to catch a glimpse of something slouching around between the branches, some dark shape, hunched over, lurking in the woods, but I never saw anything. Finally, we stopped the van and got out to look at the legendary Boggy Creek itself. This is the spot where the creek begins. This is the birthplace of Boggy Creek. We stood at the edge of the road and looked out into the water. It's amazing to think that this legend, known around the world, is tied so closely to this little body of water. And of course, looking out into the water, we all hoped that something would step out of the trees and make itself known. But whether there's a creature or not, this is it. This is the legend. This is the home of the monster. Whether he's real or imagined or whatever he might be, it all revolves around this creek. And that was my adventure in Fouke, in Texarkana. That was my Fouke Monster adventure. So, I wanted to show you a few things. I didn't get a lot at the Monster Mart or at the screening or the festival because I was flying. So if I hadn't been flying, if I had driven there, it was a 10-hour drive. I wasn't going to drive there. If I had driven there, I probably would have bought some, like that swamp water, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I would have bought one of those smaller sculptures. Oh, I probably would have bought a Boggy Creek reprint poster. They had reprints of the one sheet. I've got the original one sheet, but the reprint would have been cool because then I could have had the cast sign it. but I didn't want all that stuff on the plane. I didn't want to be burdened with that. I think I had a psychic premonition that something was going to go wrong with that plane, and the less encumbered I was, the better. So, but I did get a few things. So, this is a official Boggy Creek t-shirt. So there have been Boggy Creek t-shirts, but they weren't official. This is official, and it's got the movie design on it. And there were different, I wanted this dark one, but there were white and gray and different, light gray and different colors, and I just liked the dark one. And there were different designs where the monster was just on like a white background and didn't have the moon on it. This one appealed to me, and it has the name of the movie on the back. So that I bought at the premiere. That was my premiere souvenir, the t-shirt. Here is the program. Here's the program for the premiere. It's nice that they took the time to print that. It's pretty cool. And you know, I haven't really looked through the stuff. There's Pamela. I haven't really looked through this since I got it. It's kind of interesting to see it now, because I haven't looked at it since that weekend. Oh, wow. Now, I forgot all about this. It's in this program. Look at this. I hope that shows up. Now, I believe that this is from Lila, and I believe she is Lyle's daughter. I hope I'm not mistaken about that. It's Lyle's little daughter, who's very, very young, and drew me this beautiful picture. Look at that. It says, LOL to Ray. I guess that's laugh out loud, I guess. Laugh out loud to Ray. It could mean something else. It's got this kind of a unicorn creature with hearts and stars. And so that's nice. I forgot I had that. It was in that program. So that's a nice little discovery. Like I said, I haven't looked through this stuff since that weekend. I'll put it back. It belongs in the program. Here's Eventbrite tickets to the Monster Festival. Oh, this is my it's a ticket to the theater to see the Legend of Boggy Creek. Little souvenirs. The only autograph I got was this one. I don't know his last name. It's Keith. I'm sure anyone familiar with the film is shouting his name to me. It's Keith something. Sorry, Keith. I don't have the last name there. But he is the guy who played the monster. He played the creature. So this is a picture of the monster in Legend of Boggy Creek, and there's his autograph across the picture. He played the monster, the Fouke Monster, in the Legend of Boggy Creek. So he's the one autograph I got. I thought that was special, getting the guy who actually played the monster. So I got his autograph. So here is the poster for the festival. It's a really nice poster, and it's, you know, very firm poster, not floppy. But if I had brought this on the plane, forget it. So I didn't get this at the event. I got it afterward. I got this from Lyle over the mail because I didn't want to take that on the plane. Probably would have survived, but I didn't want to risk it. So that's the poster for the festival. Really nice poster. Now this I did get at the event. This is poster for Lyle's book, Momo, the Missouri Monster. Momo, the Strange Case of the Missouri Monster. And I have this book. If you want to know anything about the Missouri Monster, this is the book to buy. There's a... Oh, God, see, this is what I'm talking about. I did get some dents. Because I did bring this one on the plane. And sure enough, it got some dents. I just noticed it. Oh, well. So, I contributed to a Kickstarter for a documentary, a Small Town Monsters documentary that Lyle is also involved in. It's about to come out, but as of this taping, it has not come out yet. I say taping because I actually do use tape. It's high-definition digital video, but I do use tape, so it is an actual taping. Just a little trivia about this program. Anyway, so that has not come out yet. This is not for that, though. This is for Lyle's book, which is a separate thing from the documentary. And I'm not, I hope the documentary is good. I haven't seen it yet, but the way they're promoting it, I don't know. It's like part documentary, part horror movie. Okay. We'll see. But Lyle's book is a separate thing. It's a completely separate project. And his book is sterling. His book is very, very well researched, very thoroughly, meticulously assembled, and can't say enough good things about the book. So if you're interested in Momo, get that book. And if you're interested in Fouke Monster, get this book, The Beast of Boggy Creek by Lyle Blackburn. Okay. One other thing here. The only real tchotchke souvenir that I bought at the Monster Mart was this little guy. It says Boggy Creek, Fouke, Arkansas. And it's that little beady-eyed, it's got glowing red eyes, like little rhinestone eyes. And you can see what I mean, that when I say the way the Fouke Monster is represented is a lot like the way Momo is represented, which is part of why I have this here. I got this at the festival, that's one reason, but also to kind of show you how there's a similarity between the way the Fouke Monster is presented and the way Momo is presented. It's not a Roger Patterson kind of a Bigfoot. It's very different and very unique. So I really liked this cute little souvenir. It's made of wood. It's flat. It's not three-dimensional. It's cute. And they had smaller ones too. Now some years ago there was a stuffed Fouke Monster, and I'll put a picture of it up here. I think this might be Lyle's picture. If so, I apologize for not getting permission to use it. I'm not sure whose picture it is. I think it's Lyle's. So the Monster Mart used to sell these stuffed monsters that look very much like the wooden ones they sell today. Unfortunately, the person who made those handcrafted stuffed monsters has passed away, so you can't find them at the Monster Mart anymore. There are plans to reintroduce some kind of a stuffed monster at the Monster Mart, and I don't know if it's going to look the same or not, but I'd really love to have one of those original stuffed monsters like the picture I showed you. So they're pretty rare. I don't know how many people are looking for them, but there aren't that many out there from what I understand. I mean, they're made by hand, and they're just at that one location. And I only know of 2 examples floating around. So, well, I mean, if you've got one, contact me, because I am interested in acquiring one of those. And if they bring them back to the Monster Mart and they look exactly the same, whatever, but I suspect they won't look exactly the same. And I would like to have one of the earlier ones. It's not from the time of the movie. It's not from the 70s. It's from the 2000s. But still, it's the first time that there was some kind of a three-dimensional toy based on that creature that had some legitimacy, some connection with the actual monster, instead of just, you know, somebody from some other part of the country just making it in their basement. The fact that it was made in Fouke and sold at the Monster Mart gives it a kind of credibility. So I would like to have one of those stuffed monsters. If you've got one and you'd like to sell it, let me know. So one last thing. You saw in the video some of these Bigfoot action figures hanging up on the wall at the Monster Mart. Now, I didn't buy one of those at the Monster Mart, but I already had one of those very same toys that I'd bought a couple of years ago, actually. And it's the same one, it's the same action figure that they had at the Monster Mart. And this is it. It's not showing up very well. It's kind of hard to show this thing. Yeah, I might have to use my phone. It's hard to see inside this package, but it's a Bigfoot action figure. Pretty good looking one too. This is the North American Sasquatch, and it's made by Creature Replica, and they did a whole series of these. You can see them all here. They had a Yeti, and there's several that are not pictured here. They did a lot of different variations on Bigfoot, and a lot of different, yeah, I mean, this doesn't even scratch the surface. They did a lot of different heads, different variants, different styles of Bigfoot. I just bought this one because I thought it was the most, you know, this was like my idea of Bigfoot. This is the closest to what I think of when I think of Bigfoot. He's very serious looking. So I didn't buy this at the Monster Mart, but this is what they had hanging up on the wall, and you saw it on the video. They had lots of different figures from this series up on the walls. So if you go to the Monster Mart, this would be a great thing to buy, great toy. If you can't get to the Monster Mart, though, you can find these Creature Replica Bigfoot figures online. I'm sure you can find them on eBay, but I think you could still buy them new online. They probably have a website, and even so, just Google Creature Replica Bigfoot action figure, and I'm sure many different retailers will show up in your search, and you'll have options to buy them. So they're pretty cool. So this only has a little base, like a little Aurora style base that you can stand on. I didn't notice that. And what is this? It has something else. What is that? A log? I don't know. It's got little accessories. So that's cool. So it's kind of like an unofficial Monster Mart souvenir. I didn't actually buy it at the Monster Mart, but it's the same thing they sell at the Monster Mart. So I think that wraps it up. That was my little summer vacation. I really didn't do very much this summer. I spent the summer at work and at home, and that's pretty much it. I didn't have a lot of fun activities, but this was my one big fun activity, going to Fouke, Arkansas to see the festival. So I'll leave you with one last experience. On my last day in Fouke. And I drove around and looked at the road sign and just, you know, made sure I got the full experience and didn't shortchange myself on anything I wanted to do. Spent a little more time looking at things. And I thought, you know, I haven't, except for that van tour, I haven't really explored Boggy Creek or the woods or anything like that, and probably not the right time to do that a few hours before I'm going to catch a plane. But let's just explore a little bit. I got GPS on my phone. Let's just be a little adventurous. So I noticed there's this one exit off the highway, and if you go this way, you go toward the Monster Mart and everything. If you go that way, there's a dead end. There's a roadblock. It looks like the road did go at one point, but they got blocked off. And I thought, well, what's that all about? What's over there? So I drove down that way to see if can you get around the roadblock. Is it like local traffic only or something, or what is this? And I noticed there was a side road. So here's the main road, and it's blocked, trees, and there's a side road. And it's not blocked. And it's not paved except like dirt and some gravel. But it didn't look like a private road. There was no signs. It didn't say, you know, private, keep out. So I said, what's down this road? So I turned off the main road onto that road, and I started driving along. And it was just this little single lane gravel mud road. And if I'd been in a car that I owned, I wouldn't have been on this road. But it was a rented car, so it was kerplunk, 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 kerplunk on going down this road, and just trees. Like if I would have rolled down the window, stuck my hand out, it would have been trees. I could have, like, you know, felt the leaves passing by. And it went down, 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 down. I thought, where am I going? What is this? And then I turned a corner. I said, okay, now we're going to see where this is. I turned the corner, and there's just more trees. Where am I going? And it went down, 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 down. And then a little clearing opened up, and it was like a farm field just beside me. And I kept going down, 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 and the trees covered it up again. And I was like, whoa, I'm going into the boonies here. This is kind of scary. I started checking out a little bit. I thought, what if something happened? What if something came out of the trees right now? I'm by myself. I'm in this little road. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be here. There's nowhere to go, nowhere to run. I wouldn't see it coming. If something came out of the trees, it would just be there. I'd have no warning. What would I do? And I started really chicking out. Like, maybe I ought to get out of here. But there was no way to turn around, because it was just one lane, and there's trees on the other side. So I kept on going. I thought, well, in case something happens, let's have a video record of it. Like, so if they find me, they can see what happened. So I started shooting video with my phone as I was driving. And this is the video I shot. So I kept on going down, down, down this road. It seemed like it was never going to end. Well, yikes. Whew. Fouke's a scary place. Well, happy Halloween a few months in advance. That's it. The new season of Basement of Horror will start in earnest very soon. I'm going to the Horror Hound convention, and so I'm not going to start the new season before that. But sometime after that, which is in, I think, 3 weeks, sometime after that in September, we will start the new season of Basement of Horror. Whenever those new Mego horror figures, the Wave 7 comes out, we'll do an unboxing of those Mego figures. I don't know if that'll be before the new season or part of the new season. Depends on when they come out. Thanks for watching this video. I know it was kind of long and kind of different from what we usually do here, but thanks for hanging in there if you're still with us. If not, well, you know, whatever. But if you're still with us, thank you very much for watching this to the end. Remember, until next time, he who dies with the most toys is dead.